Hello, guys, and welcome back. This is Peter Dahlgren, and we're building the Mirrorless Models F86. Today is kind of a question and answers kind of thing because I've had a lot of people that I've been texting a lot about the information on this F86. A lot of inquiries about the building of it, where to get it, this and that and the other. I think one of the biggest one is what is about the approximate amount of money that it's going to take to actually build this jet. Well, that's going to be a very difficult question to answer because of the main reason for it is because not all of you are going to go with the the electronics package that a lot of these guys are going with. Some of you have your other ideas. Some of you are going the Matic and this and that. And so there's no real way to put a dollar figure on what this is. Now, I can actually tell you that if you buy everything and you get everything through Mirrorless, when you order this kit, you're going to be looking at roughly $1,000 before you even start. And there's a lot of different things and options available. And if you're doing like we're doing, we're adding things, of course, that's going to cost you more money, but it's all kind of okay. So you've got to figure the cost kit, wood, and this and that. I mean, it gets expensive. And you're not going to build this airplane for a couple $1,000s. It's not possible. Can you do it if you have everything up front? Yeah. Do you need it all? No. I think one of the biggest things with jets is that you want the best of everything that you can get your hands on. Landing gear, there's three kinds that I like. I like Bohutech. They're excellent. They have a really good lock. Electron are awesome. Yamano's had several hundred flights with his without any options or any issues at all. And I prefer ProLink because the ProLink Hercules is a very strong gear. And I like it, and they have the straight struts, which look more scale. And there are things that I am doing for my front strut that are going to be different. And the reason is because I want the doors to work. I want everything to look good. And the landing gear for the Electron gear and all this other is not scaling up looking for my taste. Now, I want it to look as good as possible. Why go through all the trouble of detailing and panel lines and all that to have ugly square landing gear? I mean, that's like, to me, it's not what I do. And so I'm very particular about the gear, and it's going to make or break the airplane. So I'm doing a hybrid. And basically, as it is, I'm going to get a Tomahawk nose strut. I'm going to cut it down, and I'm going to make my own swivel for it. And I am going to be using ProLink landing gear and actually getting some pins in the machine shop and actually make these things to work. There's a ton of different ways to make it, and there's a lot of different things you can do to make it. And there's a double bill crank that I have figured out that is going to make this actually work. So I think in my drawings on some other things and making things, it's fine. But now that I've sat and taken a really good look, I'm doing a lot of thinking. And what I found out is that I can do a series of bell cranks that are going to attach to the main gear that's actually going to make it work. How? The world may never know the answer to that question, but in order for me to do that and make the door hinge and everything work, I've got to make some parts. And that means I'm going to have a double socket. And the only way to do that is to get in and actually make it. And it's going to require some work in redesigning the nose, the actual block. on the front gear, which means it's going to have to be made a little bit longer to work and make it swivel done so that the doors will actually work. And it's a lot of thinking. The other way is to make our own Helios and our own parts. And I've been trying to get guys like Shinden Machine to do it. And we also talked with guys from Quarter Scale Gear, and BVM is not available. So there's a lot of things that aren't, but you got to remember this is a big airplane, it's quarter scale, and some of the parts are just going to be simply too big. So in order to do this and get Sierra to make the gear, you got to have at least 10 people that can commit to making it. And basically, in a nutshell, what I thought was, well, the P-38 Lightning gear, the nose gear on that is very, very, very close. The pitch angle is right. It does retract into the fuselage right, and it can be made to swivel. So here I've been for the last 6 months trying to figure it out, and nobody wants to do it. So locally, our local heroes and some of the guys I work with are willing to take on this task and make these parts, CNC machine the new nose block for the ProLink gear. And it's kind of an issue because, for one, it's got to have a positive lock. It's got to be dependable and this and that. It's got to be made out of 6061 T6, and that's how we're going to do that. So if you want your gear to swivel, I mean, these parts are not going to be extremely expensive, but if you want a scale nose gear, I'm going to go ahead and make the prototype and make it work. And if anybody wants to buy the parts to convert their standard landing gear, it will not work with the Electron gear. That's the problem. And the only gear that I can get to make this actually work and actually get the parts that actually are going to be able to work is going to be able to be on a deal. But then again, we're dealing with a patent issue. And we're redesigning somebody else's gear, so I can't really sell those outright. But if somebody wanted to pay for materials and the shipping and stuff like that, well, then maybe we can make these parts available for it, because that's the only drawback on the Demers models. And it's not a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the new nose gear for this thing. And now that I've got it figured out and what it really needs to do, we can go ahead and make that happen and order the parts, and then we can get the block remade and get it extended the full ½ inch that it needs to be done, so that the gear door can actually hook up to that. And then we will have it so it have the swivel, and then we need to make the bell crank set up so that when it does come up there, it pushes it around. So yes, we did figure it out, but we're going to take some mocking up to do it. So what I'm going to get is some plexiglass and a router and a drill press and all this other stuff, and actually make this stuff work. And if it works with the Lexan parts and all the stuff like that and whatever, then we'll make them out of CNC, and then we can do it. But of course, we have to have permission from ProLink to modify their gear to make this available through them. Really? Okay. The other option is to completely build a brand new set of gear, which we're going to have to clone in order to make it for this. And then again, by doing this, what we need to do is get the guys with the CNC equipment to actually make this. And then we're dealing with more infringement and designs. And but either way, it can still be done. So I've been dealing with that for the last 6 months about the landing gear. And without that being said, I mean, we're looking at something cost effective in order to make it available for anybody building the F-86 is on there for the quarter scale. It's gonna take a minimum, it's gonna take 10 people to pay for an $800 nose gear. And without something be done, tried and proven, that's very tough to do. Okay, and the next question is that a lot of guys said, well, it looks like you built, I've had a couple actually, it wasn't really an insult, but the next question that was asked me is, why did I build the F-86? Why did I frame it up and build a lot of it the way I did it in our rec room downstairs? And why did I do certain things? Okay, so anyway, I built the F-86 and I framed it up knowing it was going to be very big, 9 feet long. The reason for it was to build it down there on a desk, on a board, which I had planed. I actually had that board I took it down to a cabinet shop and had them plane it down and actually make it completely flat. So there was no waves in it. It was an exterior trim board. It was 5/4, full 1 inch thick, 5/4 board. It's a deck board. And it's basically something I had planed and done and made especially for that. I cut it to the exact length of what it was going to be. And the reason I set it on that board like that and had actually leveling screws in it, then I had it sit on a 6 foot long fence post, straightest one I got, and I had it planed on 2 edges. And that's something I did not show. And the reason is because I have that for ballast, because once the airplane starts getting big and you start sheeting it, it's real wobbly real quick. So it was screwed down and it was actually glued down, not taped. I used tape to hold it while the glue was drying, but I did actually glue it down to the 5/4 board that it was actually mounted on. Now, a lot of guys ask me, it only took a matter of a few minutes looking through the PDFs and figuring out where things go. And as a lot of you guys know, I will answer any of your questions. If you PM me or text me, it's awesome. And you can actually come on and I will answer any questions that you have on this airplane. There are a few things that take a little bit of configuring. Now, the other thing is I am building the A model, and no, there is no way to make I'm going to take that back, that there's no way. There is. If you want a later model and you want to make the entire thing move, then I go against that thought. But if you want the elevators to completely move and still be the way they are, you can do it. And yeah, you might be able to, you know what, I'm going to say no on that. But that's on you. If you decide to do it, please do share with the class, but it doesn't need it. The airplane flies so well. Yamano's got over 300 flights on the F-86 on the very first one built. It has no bad habits. And that should be an answer to that question. Yes, it's been a very true. Yamano's designed a very large percentage of the jets that everybody flies. And he is actually one of the top designers in Italy. And he has teamed up with Mears to build these wood kits. If this was a fiberglass kit, okay, and again, this goes with your first questions that were brought up about cost. It is a lot of work to build a plug and actually get all these things done and all these bulkheads glued in and everything. It is absolutely possible to get very good and positive results with the Mears kit. And that's why we're doing all these other things, landing gear upgrades, all this crap that we're doing. But I do want to make sure that everybody understands the wood kit is designed to where you can build a quarter scale F86 or any of its kits for that matter, and try to keep, depending on what you do in your time and everything else there, try to keep this about $8,000 or $9,000 to build, and that's American money. And it can be done. All the extras that I'm doing are just things that I want to do because I'm going to take this airplane, I'm going to fly it, and if it turns out really good, I'm going to send pictures up and try to get in Top Gun. And it depends on you and how far you're willing to go. But it'll certainly, and I'm not going to make any comparison to Airworld or Tomahawk because those are high end, very high quality, but you know what? You're going to pay a lot of money. That jet, if you got deep pockets and you want instant and fast gratification, then by all means, go get a Tomahawk. It's bigger. It's a lot of money. And I mean, it's a lot of money. You're looking at, God, by the time the retracts and the kit itself and all the extras that you're going to have to go and get, you're 10 grand before you get started. Mears F86 is a quarter scale. It's only a couple inches smaller. You're going to be able to build it for about the cost of that kit. But you know what? I prefer wood and this and that. And, well, I like putting the details in. I like doing the rivets. I like doing all these things. You know what? I love the building part as much as I do the flying. So there are a lot of things going on, and it's up to you where you're at and what you're going, because you know what? It does not matter where you are, what you do, what you got to say about it, because the fact of the matter is, any of these jets that you get into, by the time you buy the turbine, all your electronics and all that stuff, you're $10,000 no matter what you do. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So again, it comes back to the cost of it, and a lot of guys have asked me a lot about that. So again, another good question that was brought up to me is, I have a couple guys that are building this airplane's first time builds. It can be done, but the one thing I do want all of you to understand is that you really need, holy crap, guys, I can't even bring this up or emphasize it enough, because there's not a lot that I can actually, I don't know. I mean, if you want to go and build this jet, you can absolutely do it. It's simplified. It's actually like putting together a big puzzle, but it is definitely not a first airplane. There are a lot of little things in this that could absolutely bite you. It's going to take you a while. I would strongly, and here's the part two of that question is, what would you recommend to get built up to start building these actual scale airplanes and stuff like that? Any Zeroli airplane, any of the Jerry Bates, any of these Gulos, Top Flight, any airplane that's a kit that actually can teach you the mechanical aptitude of what you are building and what to look for, and give you absolute 100% experienced, useful experience will prepare you and help you in any build, no matter where it is and how complex it can be. That's how I learned how to water form. That's how I learned how to do a lot of things. Plus, I work on real airplanes, so it's kind of one of them deals where it's what we do. The next question was that I get a lot of, and I've made a lot of mentions about it because our local hobby shops suck. They do. And sorry, you guys down there at the hobby shop here, and for you guys that are here watching this and all that, you know what? You can't keep stuff stocked in there if you have you can't compete, guys. The hobby shops that are local here in the Seattle area, you know what? I should leave it alone, but I'm not going to. The reason these hobby shops are going out of business in that, and they're losing all their business around here, especially around the Seattle Everett area, is because I cannot count how many times I've gone in to find a piece of balsa only to find junk shit wood and maybe two sheets. Two sheets wouldn't do an aileron. And so when I go to eBay and I find Midwest Balsa in there, which is a good quality balsa, I prefer to be able to go in and actually check the grade of it, make sure it's hard balsa, because that's what I like to build with. And I'm like, wow, you guys don't carry any hinges, you don't carry any good servos that we use, we don't do this. Well, we don't have any call for it. First of all, bullshit. I'm there looking for it, and here I am, a builder. But you know what? If I can't even buy a wood kit in a hobby shop, any kind of wood kit, they don't have them. They're all styrofoam foamies. What are the chances of any of us builders, and there's a lot of us around here in this area, a lot of builders. We go and we order our stuff through Zaroli Plans. We order our stuff through Jerry Bates. We order our stuff through Mears from Serbia, and we get what we want to build. And then we order everything, whether it be from eBay or this and that. You know what? If you're not going to cater to the people that are going to keep your doors open, then we'll take our business elsewhere. And that's exactly what is happening in this area. I go and pay $5 for a 3-inch by 32 piece of 3/32 balsa. Go in and it hasn't even been reordered a month later. I ask you to carry Savox servos and you bring in the stuff that the guys use in the model cars, not good enough. I need at least 104-ounce servos. I need G10 material. I need small screws. I need things. I need linkage parts. I need the little parts and stuff like that. No call for them. Nobody uses anything that big. Really? Well, so we call and get. We actually go online and order all these parts. Not one piece of balsa went in the Spitfire build. Everything went. Nothing came locally. Not one thing. Okay, local hobby shops are cutting their throat. I don't even mess with them. I order everything online. I wish I could go up there and actually physically look at some. I wish I could actually go look at a King Tech engine. I wish I could actually go up there and see a lot of these things. But when I can't even buy anything over 6 channels for radios, it's not worth it to spend the gas to go over there. So yeah, I've got it kind of in for the hobby shops. And another thing, it's sad, very sad. Just like us losing our flying field, and that wasn't my fault. Okay, the next question I had on this is, what are my plans after this and to do this? I'm going to fly this airplane. Unfortunately, we have to drive damn near 125 miles to do it now because we have no flying fields left here. And that was a sad, sad, sad day. And that's why I talk about the FAA, the EAA, as well as the AMA. And we got a lot of wide open spaces, but you know what? People think it's really cute to go out there and fly drones in airspace, then in traffic patterns, and go and take off and fly all over the place and take all their great photos and pictures. Near misses, this and that. People flying without insurance, hitting people's vehicles, getting sued, property owners and this and that, people protesting and signing petitions to because of the noise and this and that. And there's people chasing animals in farm fields, which is what did the one up in Monroe. And there's a lot of other things that lack of communication between people and modelers is horrible. And you know what? Very, very, very sad state of affairs in the Seattle area. Unless you got a foamy that's that big, you got no place to fly. And if you do, oh, it's against our rights to tell us we have to join the Academy of Model Aeronautics. It's against our will around here to put a bunch of rules on us saying that we can't. Now, leaving that one alone, because all that does is irritate me. Basically, we have lost all of our flying fields because nobody wants to follow the rules. Nobody wants to file any sanctioning. We lost the large scale association, a lot of people. I was a lifetime member and it went bankrupt. You know why? Is because people didn't want to take care of this. Other people became competing with the Jones within the clubs, and they actually went through and have really screwed it up for a lot of people. I don't want that guy in here because he doesn't fly beautiful airplanes like us. He doesn't spend $10,000 on his airplanes. Oh, this guy here is just getting in. We ain't got no time to teach him. And then you got these people that didn't go and actually follow the AMA sanctioning and all this other stuff that went on. And we had a P-51, top flight P-51, giant scale of that. The guy was so proud of because he went on eBay and bought the cheapest things he could possibly get. But you know what? That gyro worked really good because that airplane flew 15 miles before it smashed through somebody's front window of their house. Finding out that the FlySky receiver that he was using and the transmitter, he lost all of his signal, and that airplane just kept on going. Went through $1 million house front window. Luckily, it didn't have any gas in it, but it did a lot of damage. And basically, a person was allowed to fly without any AMA card, no membership, nothing, no insurance, and the club wound up paying damn near $25,000 for damages done to that house. And believe me, the windows that it went through were absolutely huge. in person. What about my airplane? Sorry, guy. After that, they're starting, and then this was the same time that all these things started happening with the drones flying around in medical fucking airspace out the airport, near misses and all this other stuff. People with drones up there trying to take pictures of life flight air ambulances out here. That did it. After that, done. Now we have to go all the way to Wenatchee and the other area. There's just no place to fly large scale airplanes anymore here. And it's like I said, they weigh more than a few ounces. They don't want them in the air here. So why build it? Because I can. Another main question is that a lot of guys asked in here too, what are my plans for Top Gun? Well, it's going to take several months to detail this jet. I mean, I haven't even glassed it yet. The reason is because I'm making some changes and I'm doing a lot of other things to get a lot of these things built. And I'm a very busy guy most of the time. And I don't have a lot of spare time right now. So when I do actually get in to work on that jet, I try to get in 1 or 2 really good days. And right now I'm in the middle of body work. I got to finish. I got a punch list. I still haven't built the workbench because I need one now. And I need a lot of other things done in the meantime. And actually with the weather being cold like that, I got to figure out a heat source for down there. And I'm so reluctant to put any heaters down into that space because I had one about the same size that I lost the Spitfire in. In case you didn't know, I had a Zeroli Spitfire that I spent 2 years, approximately 500 hours on details. That thing was absolutely gorgeous. I had actual, I made the gun barrels, just got them finished, was getting ready to glass the wings, and oh my God, the dog started barking, and oh shit, that fire got so hot in that the DLE 85 engine, I have it somewhere, it actually melted it. The only thing I was actually able to pick up was the crankshaft out of it. And it was sickening. So it was, I don't even want to think about it anymore, but there are pictures on my Facebook about it. And I did actually repost one of the builds on that thing because I do miss that build. And I will build another Spitfire, but I want a bigger airplane next time. And the reason for it is because I put a DLE 85 in my Zeroli and it barely fit. It had that much sticking out of the bottom. No matter what I did, I couldn't get it to go, and it was a real problematic thing to get mounted up. And the cowling just was not all that big. It's a beautiful airplane. Oh my God. I love the Spitfire. It's my all-time favorite airplane. I will build another one, but when I do, I will do the Falk RC one. It's going to be a lot bigger, even more bold. And I love that airplane. It's just cool. And then again, maybe I'll do one with a 50. It's more than enough power for it, I think. And maybe I'll do it with that. I don't know. But I am by no means in any way, shape, or form even started to begin with any of the new builds. And I'm ready to go and actually get really hot. The weather's starting to go. We just went through the time change, longer days in this. Okay, my last question was, and a lot of people have asked me about this, and they're asking me about that and about the the resin that I'm using and the cloth and everything, and why am I thinning out my resin when I do all this? And the biggest reason for it is because, okay, there's a lot of reasons why I thin out. The first coat, we're only doing one coat thinned out. This isn't going to be a lot of thin coats, okay? And this is the one thing. I use non-starch cloth, which I get through Zeroli plants. I use Z epoxy finishing resin. Don't use anything else. This shit is amazing. It sands very easy and it's really good. But the one thing that I know, because I used to be a laminator at Bayliner in Arlington, Washington, years and years ago. My job was lamb maintenance. That's what I did. I took care of the facility and the resin sheds and everything was there. We used to take samples of certain epoxies that we used in injection molding, and it was epoxy. And because you can't, I don't know, there are just a lot of things. First of all, a lot of the gel coat that was done was sprayed in those molds first, and that was actually part of your mill thickness. And I forget what it was. And then we spray resin and strain them with a chopper again, and then we put in the deal and we laminate everything together, several coats, stuff is that thick. Now, the difference is vinyl ester and polyester, they use methyl ketone hardener, and this stuff is like acid. It's nasty. And it's extremely volatile. I mean, this stuff will catch on fire, and if it does, you're not putting it out. Very dangerous situation. They call it hot batching. And it had a red dye. It looks just like blood. But the stuff you get it on you will burn the crap out of you. It has acid. It's acid. And MEKT. And I hated this stuff. You get it on you, it's just, that's why I went to maintenance and did it. Well, I did some holes, boat holes in this finishing resin. And the one thing that I was told is if it was brown, it had water in it. You know, water equates to one thing. It just did whatever. But to eradicate that and all that, what we did is we put distilled or alcohol in it, you know, distilled alcohol. And that it would foam up and it would actually stay kind of dark. But that when you did that, you put in an equal part of the denatured alcohol, you put it in there, it would get cloudy for a minute and it would clear up. That's the water getting sucked out of it. But it also does something, and it actually does on your first coat, putting your 1 ounce cloth down. Don't go any more than that. Okay. First of all, this is another part of that question that I want you guys to understand is that you cannot rely on this fiberglass to being strength. It's not. It's a wood structure. It'll never be anything but a wood structure. So I think one of the biggest things is that, but there is a way to make it a lot tougher. And all you're doing with this 1 ounce cloth is keeping the wood from pulling its fibers apart. And that's why I do my filling first and all this stuff, because for number one, you don't want to be sanding that glass. Yeah, it's going to be so thin that you don't want to do it. You don't want to be putting a lot of Bondo and everything else on top of it. So I just do it. And I will show this in the video. We're going to do the live when I start doing it. But the one thing that I want to point out though is and it's one coat. of thin. It's not a bunch of others. The one thing that I want to bring on or bring up is that by thinning it out to the consistency of almost like water, it's gonna penetrate that wood a whole lot more than it is just going halfway. Its percentage is minute. So I do just want to say this one thing. If you do thin it out in this, you gotta really, this is gonna be a deal. You're going to get a little bit better penetration. It's going to give you a little bit more working time on it. And epoxy, the longer it takes to cure, the stronger it's going to get. You always want to favor your resin over your hardener. Don't put more hardener in. Always put your resin in first. And you can go slightly less, but it's actually a 50-50. But don't put more hardener in because it's not gonna be as strong. You always want to favor your resin. It will dry. If you put in half the amount, it's gonna take a little bit longer to cure, but it will do it because it doesn't need any oxygen. It doesn't need anything to do. It will cure. You can put it in the freezer, still gonna cure. It takes a while, but it will still do it. Now, the one thing is that a lot of guys have been asking me, now is that gonna be heavier or not? No, it isn't. The one thing is that if you do it right, the only thing you're doing with this fiberglass, and you're not adding any strength, and guys, I'm going to just say it the way it is. If you're relying on this, you're going to add more cloth here and there. You built your airplane wrong if you are relying on this stuff for strength. And no, on the finishing resin for laminating parts to make parts, no, you got to use a different material. And you're going to want to use a different cloth for that. You can actually put one layer of the 1 ounce down and put some heavier weave on these bi-directional on there for making gear doors and stuff like that. But you're going to want to use a laminating resin. And again, Z-Epoxy makes it, but it's a laminating resin and it's clear. And these are just little things that you come up with. And these are just little things to think about. And we will start going over this, and I will start showing you guys a lot of different tricks and what it does when it comes down to that. Because after we primer this thing, then we're going to start doing some other serious body work. And yes, and I am actually answering a couple people as we're talking, because there are these are actual texts that I'm actually looking at before I'm actually talking to you guys. But anyway, I think one of the biggest things is that there are quite a few different ideas that are actually involved with laminating and stuff like that. We'll talk more about that as we get into this build some more. And yes, actually, again, I'm just waiting for the weather to warm up again. And these are things that we kind of got to do and have to do in order to keep things going. You don't want to be laminating and painting in 50-degree weather. It's too cold. And there's no point in taking an effort to destroy an airplane that you spent so much time and money on. So, yeah, and again, that's why I don't want to put a heat source in there. We already had one hangar fire and lost a $12,000 airplane in there, amongst other things, and not going to happen. As for paint goes, I use Spray Max primer, and this is an epoxy primer. It's a 2-part. You do need to wear respirators with it. And I've had really good lucks with Duplicolors filling primer, and it's a very high build. And I put a lot on because you're going to sound an awful lot off. But the one thing I did find out is that the 2K primers are actually the way to go on everything because, for one, they're going to dry from the inside out. And when it's dry, it's dry. It takes very little time. It looks great. It holds lines really well. And another thing. So, and I do it, and it's epoxy. It's not ever going to shrink up. Once it's done curing, I mean, whatever finish you put on it, when you put your paint on there, then that's what you got. And it accepts everything. And I do use denatured alcohol to wipe every coat clean on everything. I don't use water on an airplane to wash it. I use denatured alcohol to keep those surfaces clean. And I do actually, there are a lot of things you guys have not seen yet that I am actually doing. And these are all things that we will talk about more as we get into the build, because we're really not even into that build that much time, guys. I mean, what I've done here looks like a hell of a lot. Oh, he's close. No, we're not even started. We got months of details to do. We got a lot of stuff to get done. So, and as far as what is the size of the chart pack tape that I'm going to be using, I use 1/64th. And you can get it on Amazon. Make sure you get the gloss. Okay, these are things that a lot of guys have asked me to clarify. If you get the flat semi-gloss chart pack tape and you put primer on it, you're going to be digging it out for hours. It just doesn't. It sticks too good to it. It's the problem, and just not okay. So when you guys get into that, I'll show you. Now, when we get ready to do, this is another question. What is the formula for all of your lines you're doing? How are you getting your references? Okay, I use the drawings that I use. You get them online. I'm using the exact same drawing. Mears has these if you're using NISCAP for quarter scale. You can also do a 70-second conversion to quarter scale. I'm not going to go in through that right now because there's a lot of good videos on how to draw out your lines and how to do the math with a calculator and all this. It takes days to do all the lines on a quarter scale, guys. It doesn't happen in a couple hours, but you want to be doing it at a dedicated point in time to where you can actually go in and finish the job. The longer this stuff sits on there, the harder it's going to be to get off. And I use 4 coats of primer. I do all the lines, 2 coats, and then I put 2 coats over the whole entire airplane, and then I dig those lines out. I sand it first and then pull those lines out. And it can be done with epoxy primers. And the reason I do that is because I use a sealer, and I use, again, last but not least, I use Class Coat paint. And guys, the stuff will last forever. You can get enough to do touch-ups, this and that. You don't have to worry about it. It doesn't separate, this and that. It doesn't. And then, if you are going to do a lot of these all-clad paints and all that, you're on your own. Because I don't like silver airplanes. I'm doing camouflage. I might even go crazy on this thing and actually paint it like a Reno Air Racer. I've been kind of debating on a lot of this stuff on whether to make it what or just have fun with it. But, you know, the thing is that I did choose a camouflage, a Korean War camouflage paint job, but I'm finding out that it is a real airplane, but it may not be one actually used in combat that way. And for some reason, the particular paint job I picked out, I've been told that it's actually a Canadair. So I may go British. I don't know yet. I might even go and just paint this thing up and just go custom with it. It ain't gonna hurt anything to do it. and it depends. We're going to see how well the details turn out and how well everything works and how it looks to do it. Then again, it could wind up being a silver airplane just like everybody else's. Well, I'm not willing to live with that. So I want either really cool or really not anything. So it's kind of where it is. So yeah, it'll be cloud scope paint. I'm not planning on it being shiny, but if I do decide to do that, then we'll do some other things. And we're going to do, oh, the cockpit kit. Yes, that's another thing. I am making my own. And this is something that I am going to do very coolly. I'm going quarter scale. And I am going to be using the head from iFly Achilles and as well as a lot of his cockpit parts. And then we're going to go, I've taken a lot of pictures of the actual F-86. And we're going to go and we're going to build a lot of really cool things into this. And I will be using a lot of Tomahawk's parts because I love their lighting and little things like that. We're going to get all this stuff done. And I built mine off drawing size. Okay. There's a lot of different things that's got to be done on there before we start installing a lot of these parts. And we are going to be doing some glassing on the inside of the canopy and all the other things. We got a lot of work to do. We got probably another year's worth of this, and that's going to be where once the build is done and the gear is installed and I got all the main working parts, I start glassing. That's when this series actually ends and then the new one begins. It's going to be doing a lot of the details. Basically, I'm showing you guys how to build the airplane, and your building skills really are just about over from everything I'm showing you. It's just going to be a repeat of everything that's going on. And again, I really want to thank everybody for watching. This will be on here for references to anything you want to know and everything done. But once I get the gear doors laid out and the landing gear set up and everything else and the actual bottom wing and the electronics and everything in the airplane is actually sitting on the landing gear, just fiberglassed without any primer, nothing else on it. That's when this series will actually end. And then the new one, you know, using the mirror sets to detail an F-86 will come to play. And that'll be a whole brand new series on everything. Won't be as long. And that's going to show this airplane finished. And that's going to be where a lot of things are going. And that should be about it for the questions that I've had more so than others. And again, yes, you guys can find me on Facebook. I'm Peter Dahlgren from Seattle, Washington. And if you guys want to personal message me, I don't care where you're at. You can call me if you want to. I'm more than happy to explain and look up certain parts. And yes, there are a lot of extra parts in this stuff, but understand there's a lot of different things and pieces, parts, this and that and the other. And I am more than happy to answer any of your questions as well as anybody else. And with that, I leave you guys in good hands. Keep sending me pictures of your builds too. I love that. If you guys are actually, I love looking at your guys' builds. And I really thoroughly enjoyed, you know, this whole situation with this airplane has been good. And yeah, I tried to do editing. I tried all these other things and this and that. But you know what? I'm just a guy that loves this stuff. I am not the best builder in the world. And You know, I've learned from watching a lot of other guys like myself that just love this stuff and willing to share with the building community what it really is. But guys, if you're building your own airplane, I have more respect for you than you know, because there are not enough builders in this world, and there's a lot of guys that just got stuck with an ARP, and that's where they're content. I am very happy with a lot of the comments people have made. I am really actually very happy. I'm talking to a lot of you in, gosh, almost 18 different countries now. That's pretty remarkable considering where I started. I started on a little Facebook page and wound up in worldwide in no time. And I'm just a Raider guy that really loves this stuff. And if I can help build and stuff like that, then I will. But as far as the building part goes, guys, there are no wrong ways. I mean, it's going to be whatever you develop yourself and whatever you decide you want to do. But as long as you're inspired to make these things and make something your own, make it cool. I think I've shown everybody what really is cool. And you're going, do you need to do everything? No, you don't. It doesn't need speed brakes. That's something I added just so it looks cool, something for somebody else to look at. Little added options, this and that. My pilot's head's gonna turn and look around. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make him so his arm raises up. Gotta be yourself. You gotta be an individual when you come up there and you build these things. So again, thank you for all these questions. And thank you for this. I'm hoping I'm giving you guys some good answers. Oh, one last question. What engine am I using? What size? I am using a 180 King Tech. I haven't bought it yet, but there are some options. I'm doing it for cost purposes, but I'm also looking for what it is because you know what? Guys, like a lot of you, this is my first jet, but it's going to be heavy. And I want to make sure that everything's going the way it needs to go. So with that, I'll leave you guys. Happy building. Message me if you have any questions. And if there's anything else that I can talk to you technically about, then please do shoot me a message and let's see where we're at. And I will make every attempt and everything available to everybody and everything else. But until then, we'll see y'all in the funny papers.